The boy who heard music differently. In a quiet neighborhood of Southside Chicago, a little boy named Kanye sat by a dusty piano. The world outside was loud, sirens, broken homes, voices filled with dreams and pain. But inside his mind, there was rhythm, color, and something that sounded like the future. No one could really see it yet. Not his teachers, not even some of his friends. But Kanye, he could hear it. He wasn't just listening to beats. He was building a new language through sound. This is not just the story of a famous rapper or a billionaire designer. This is the story of Ye, a man who challenged the system, faced loss, fell hard, and still rose again. And if you've ever felt misunderstood, unseen, or unheard, this story might just be about you too. Lesson 2. The art teacher's son, Kanye Omari West, was born on June 8, 1977. His mother, Donda West, was a college professor who believed in education, creativity, and speaking boldly. His father, Ray West, was a former Black Panther turned photojournalist. They weren't rich, but they gave Kanye something many kids never get, a belief that his voice mattered. Donda especially shaped his mind. She didn't just teach him grammar or history. She told him that ideas had power. She made him feel that his words could move people. And Kanye believed her. That belief would follow him from classrooms to music studios to global stages. Lesson 3. The first failures that built the fire. Before he ever rapped a word, Kanye tried to break into the music world as a producer. But getting in wasn't easy. He carried around demo CDs, knocked on doors, got turned down over and over. Labels told him, "You don't fit." They said he was too artsy, too soft-spoken, too strange. But Kanye didn't quit. Instead, he studied music like it was his second heartbeat. He learned how to flip soul records into beats no one had heard before. He produced tracks for Jay-Z, Alicia Keys, and Ludacris. Still, when he said, "I want to rap," they laughed. Even as he made hits for others, they doubted he could be the star. But stars aren't made in studios. They're made in storms. And Kanye's storm was just getting started. Lesson 4. The crash that changed everything. In 2002, Kanye fell asleep at the wheel while driving home from a late-night recording session. The crash nearly killed him. His jaw was shattered. For weeks, he could barely speak. But something strange happened in that silence. A new sound was born, raw, vulnerable, and real. While healing, Kanye recorded "Through the Wire," rapping with his jaw still wired shut. That song wasn't just a track, it was a statement. He was hurt, but not broken. Scared, but not silent. He had something to say, and he wouldn't let pain stop him. This was the beginning of The College Dropout, his first album. It was fresh, soulful, and honest. It didn't brag. It told stories. And suddenly, the world was listening. Lesson 5. The genius nobody saw coming. When The College Dropout dropped in 2004, it didn't sound like anything else on the radio. There were no guns, no violence, no fake swagger. Just soul samples, funny skits, deep lyrics, and big questions. Kanye talked about self-doubt, faith, education, and dreams. Critics didn't know what to do with him, but fans, they felt seen. The album won Grammys. It changed the sound of hip-hop. And more than that, it made space for a new kind of artist. One who didn't fit the mold, one who could speak from the heart and still win. For Kanye, this was proof. He didn't have to be someone else to succeed. He could be Ye. Lesson 6. Music as a mirror. Kanye didn't just create beats. He built mirrors, songs that reflected society, race, faith, class, and personal struggle. His second album, Late Registration, took his music to new heights. It had violins, choirs, and orchestras woven into hip-hop. With songs like Gold Digger and Heard 'Em Say, Kanye held up a lens to American culture, its dreams and its contradictions. He wasn't afraid to ask hard questions or be emotional. In a world where rappers were expected to act tough, Kanye talked about anxiety, love, and insecurity. Some called him brave, others called him dramatic. But Ye was doing something rare. He was telling the truth as he saw it. Lesson 7. Fame and the fight within. With fame came pressure, and Kanye felt all of it. As the spotlight grew hotter, so did his emotions. He started to speak out, sometimes too loudly, sometimes too soon. At the 2005 Hurricane Katrina fundraiser, he shocked the world by saying on live TV, "George Bush doesn't care about black people." It wasn't planned, it wasn't polished, but it was Kanye raw and unfiltered. Some cheered, others criticized, but one thing became clear. Ye was not going to stay quiet when something felt wrong. He was becoming more than a musician. He was turning into a voice, loud, unpredictable, and deeply human. Lesson 8. Graduation and the Glow-Up. In 2007, Kanye dropped Graduation, an album that sounded like the future. It blended hip-hop with electronic beats, arena rock, and global energy. Songs like Stronger and Good Life weren't just radio hits. They were anthems. But behind the lights, Kanye was dealing with personal darkness. That same year, he suffered one of the greatest losses of his life. His mother, Donda, passed away after surgery. She had been his anchor, his teacher, his biggest fan. Her death broke him, and it changed his music forever. He went from colorful and confident to cold and experimental. The pain was real, and it would echo through his next creation. Lesson 9. 808s and the Sound of Sadness. After Donda's death and a breakup, Kanye created 808s and Heartbreak, an album filled with auto-tuned vocals, minimal beats, and emotional depth. Many fans didn't know what to make of it. It was different, it was quiet, it was sad, but it was honest. Kanye wasn't pretending to be okay. He was showing his wounds. This album, once misunderstood, would later inspire a generation. Artists like Drake, Kid Cudi, and The Weeknd all pointed to 808s as a turning point in modern music. Ye had created something rare, a rap album that wasn't about power. It was about pain. And for many, that made it powerful. Lesson -10. Taylor Swift and the Turning Point. Then came the moment that changed how the world saw Kanye. In 2009, at the MTV Video Music Awards, Taylor Swift was on stage accepting her award when Kanye suddenly interrupted her speech. "Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'ma let you finish. But Beyoncé had one of the best videos of all time." The crowd gasped. The media exploded. Overnight, Kanye went from musical genius to villain in the public eye. He later apologized, but the damage was done. That moment became a symbol. For some, it showed his passion. For others, it showed his pride. Either way, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, where fame, mental health, and controversy collided like never before. Lesson 11. The Disappearance and the Reflection. After the Taylor Swift incident, Kanye vanished from the public eye. No shows, no albums, just silence. He went to Japan, then to Rome. He walked through museums, studied fashion, sat with his thoughts. For the first time, Kanye didn't have a stage. He had space. Space to ask himself, who am I when no one's looking? Fame had given him everything: money, power, attention. But it had also taken his peace. And in that quiet, something new was forming inside him. A version of Kanye who wasn't just chasing hits. A version who was searching for purpose. Lesson 12. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. In 2010, Kanye returned with an album that silenced every critic. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It was grand, poetic, chaotic, brilliant. It blended classical instruments with bold lyrics. It questioned fame, race, and love. It didn't apologize. It roared. Critics called it a masterpiece. Fans called it art. But Kanye called it therapy. He poured his heartbreak, guilt, pride, and dreams into every track. Songs like Power, Runaway, and All of the Lights weren't just music. They were confessions. Ye had faced his demons and turned them into sound, and the world couldn't look away. Lesson 13. The Rise of the Fashion Icon. While the music soared, Kanye's mind moved to another world: fashion. But once again, he wasn't welcomed. Major fashion houses rejected him. They said he was just a celebrity, not a designer. They laughed at his passion. But Kanye had heard that before. And just like in music, he decided to prove them wrong. He studied design, worked with brands, built prototypes. In 2015, he launched Yeezy with Adidas. At first, people were confused. The shoes were strange. The clothes looked like uniforms from another planet. But soon, Yeezy became a movement, a new kind of fashion: minimal, bold, expensive. And everyone, from athletes to students, wanted in. Lesson 14. Marriage, Media, and Mental Storms. Kanye's relationship with reality TV star Kim Kardashian became one of the most public marriages in the world. Together, they were powerful, rich, and everywhere. But behind the cameras, Ye was battling something deeper. In 2016, he was hospitalized after a mental health crisis. Later, he revealed he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Suddenly, the world had a new lens on Kanye. He wasn't just emotional, he was fighting a medical condition. He spoke openly about his highs and lows, his episodes, his therapy. And in doing so, he started a conversation that many artists, especially black men, were too afraid to begin. He made mental health lesson of the music, lesson of the brand, lesson of the man. Lesson -15. Sunday service, music meets spirit. In 2019, Kanye surprised the world again, not with a new sneaker or wild statement, but with Sunday service. Every week, Ye and a gospel choir gathered to sing spiritual songs, mixing worship with hip-hop. They performed on mountaintops, at Coachella, in churches. No tickets, no ads, just music and faith. For Kanye, this was personal. It wasn't about fame, it was about healing. He released Jesus is King, an album with no cursing, all faith. Some called it a gimmick. But for Kanye, it was a return to something real. He was going back to his roots, to the piano in Southside Chicago, searching not for applause, but for peace. Lesson 16. The Presidential Dream. In 2020, while the world was locked in uncertainty, Kanye made a bold announcement. He was running for President of the United States. Many thought it was a joke. Some were angry, others were simply confused. But for Ye, it wasn't about winning votes. It was about making a point. He spoke about God, family, mental health, and healing the nation. His campaign wasn't traditional. There were no long speeches, no slick ads. Just passion, scattered ideas, and deep emotion. Though his run didn't last long, it revealed something deeper. Kanye was no longer satisfied with being just a cultural figure. He wanted to shape the future. not just through music or fashion, but through action. Lesson 17. The public breakdowns. But ambition wasn't the only thing growing, so was the chaos. Kanye's public speeches became unpredictable. He cried during rallies. He tweeted strange and emotional messages. His personal life, his marriage, his parenting, his business decisions unfolded on the internet in real time. Many didn't know how to respond. Was this performance? Was it pain? Was it both? And behind the scenes, his loved ones worried. Kanye wasn't hiding anymore. He was raw, exposed, and struggling in public view. Yet through it all, he kept creating designs, beats, ideas. Even in the storm, his mind never stopped moving. Lesson 18. Divorce and the echo of loss. In early 2021, Kanye and Kim Kardashian announced their divorce. The world watched again. Two powerful people, 4 children, years of public highs and private pain. And now, separation. For Ye, it was another wound. But unlike before, this time he wasn't just mourning a love. He was mourning a life he had built. The father, the husband, the provider. He had tried to protect that image, but now it was breaking. And once again, Kanye turned to what he knew best, art. He started making music that felt heavy, honest, and conflicted. He was not hiding the heartbreak. He was turning it into fuel. Lesson 19. The Donda Era, a son's tribute. In August 2021, Kanye released Donda, named after his late mother. The album wasn't just music. It was a spiritual journey, a mix of gospel, pain, praise, confusion, and hope. Songs like Hurricane and Off the Grid showed both strength and sorrow. There were delays, live-streamed studio sessions, and even listening Lessoni's inside stadiums. Fans watched him sleep, create, cry. For Kanye, Donda wasn't about sales. It was about soul. He was reaching out to his mother's memory, to God, to himself. And in that process, he invited the world to witness a man still trying to heal. Lesson 20. Building a billion-dollar brand. While the music explored the emotional side of Ye, the business side was exploding. By 2021, Forbes confirmed Kanye had become a billionaire, not through album sales, but through Yeezy. His fashion brand was now one of the most influential in the world. The shoes sold out in minutes. The clothes were worn by stars and students alike. Kanye had built a new kind of empire, one powered by design, risk, and vision. He lessonnaired with Adidas, then later made deals with Gap. But success didn't change his hunger. It only grew. He wasn't satisfied with having money. He wanted to leave a mark, a cultural blueprint, a permanent impact. Lesson 21. The weight of words. Kanye has always used words as weapons, sometimes to inspire, other times to provoke. But in recent years, some of his statements brought heavy backlash. From controversial interviews to insensitive remarks, Ye crossed lines that shocked fans and critics alike. Some defended him, calling it freedom of speech. Others walked away, saying he had gone too far. In late 2022, a series of interviews and tweets led to business listeners pulling away. Adidas ended its Yeezy deal. Brands distanced themselves. It was a massive financial and cultural blow. Kanye's billions dropped almost overnight. But perhaps more painful than money was the silence from those who once cheered him. The world was asking, who is Kanye West now? Lesson 22. Identity and conflict. Behind the headlines, Ye was struggling with something deeper, his identity. Was he an artist, a leader, a prophet, a businessman? He'd played so many roles, worn so many masks, built so many walls. But now those walls were falling. And what remained was a man still searching, still wounded, still dreaming. Kanye began speaking more openly about his beliefs, his faith, his political opinions, his mistrust of systems. At times, it felt like he was building his own world. At other times, it felt like he was lost in it. But one thing remained constant. Kanye never stopped expressing himself, even when it cost him everything. Lesson 23. The people he influenced. Whatever your opinion of Kanye West, one truth is undeniable. He changed the game. Not just in music, not just in fashion, but in culture. Artists like Travis Scott, Kid Cudi, Frank Ocean, Tyler, the Creator, and even Drake owe pieces of their creative DNA to Kanye. He opened doors for vulnerability in the hip-hop. He made it okay to talk about pain, faith, sadness, and therapy in music. He showed that rap could be colorful, emotional, spiritual, and strange. And he gave young black creatives permission to dream bigger, to imagine businesses, brands, platforms, and legacies outside the box. Lesson 24. The father figure through it all. His rise, his fall, his fame. Kanye remained a father. He often said his children were his greatest work. Despite public drama and difficult headlines, Ye tried to stay present in their lives. In songs, interviews, and even fashion shows, he spoke of protecting them, guiding them, and preparing them for a world that wasn't always kind. He didn't want them to follow him blindly. He wanted them to build their own path, but carry the spirit of boldness, belief, and truth with them. In many ways, his role as a father became the quiet backbone of his later years. Less noise, more purpose. Lesson 25. Redefining what it means to win. Most people measure success by numbers, money, followers, awards. But Kanye's story challenges us to ask a different question. What if winning means being real? Yes, he made mistakes. He hurt people. He lost listenerships. But he also stayed true to himself, flawed, emotional, creative, raw. He never chased perfection. He chased meaning. And in a world full of fake smiles and filtered truths, that kind of honesty is rare. Kanye didn't just break records, he broke molds. And in doing so, he showed millions of people, especially the unheard, the misunderstood, the different, that their voice matters too. Lesson 26. Faith over fame. As the noise faded and the crowds shifted, Kanye's foundation became clearer. Faith. Not fashion, not fame, not music. Faith. After everything, the awards, the backlash, the loss, what held Ye together wasn't what the world gave him. It was what he found in silence, in prayer, on purpose. His belief in God became louder than his beats. He said it in interviews. He lived it through Sunday service. He wrapped it into Jesus is King, into Donda, and even into his Yeezy designs. For Ye, God wasn't a marketing tool. He was a compass. And no matter where the world took Kanye, he kept coming back to that direction, upward. Lesson 27. Rebuilding the broken. By now, Kanye had been through more reinventions than most people have. He had fallen, risen, fallen again. And yet, he never stopped building. After his listenership with Adidas ended, many thought Yeezy was done. But Kanye didn't freeze. He started building on his own, independent, direct-to-consumer, with new models and new visions. No middleman, no boardroom, just ideas. He was rebuilding not just a brand, but a belief that failure is not final, that even when the world walks away, you can still stand, you can still create, you can still rise again. Lesson 28. From South Side to the Summit, Kanye once said, "I am a god." And the world laughed. But maybe they misunderstood. Maybe he wasn't claiming perfection. Maybe he was shouting self-worth. From a small lessonment on the south side of Chicago to global fashion stages and billion-dollar valuations, Kanye's journey wasn't just upward, it was inward. He battled the shadows inside himself and the noise outside. And every step, every controversy, every comeback was a lesson. A reminder that the road to greatness is not clean. It's wild, it's ugly, it's lonely. But for those who don't give up, it's worth it. Lesson 29. The lesson behind the legend. For English learners, for young dreamers, for people watching from small towns and crowded cities. Kanye's life isn't just a story about fame. It's a story about believing when no one else does. About failing publicly and still getting up. About being misunderstood and still speaking your truth. Whether you agree with him or not, you can learn something from him. You are more powerful than your past, more important than people's opinions, more valuable than your mistakes. Kanye's life teaches us that genius isn't clean, but it is real. And if you are brave enough to be real, you're already halfway there. Lesson 30. Legacy in motion. Today, Kanye West, or Ye, is not just a name. He is a movement, a memory, a mystery, a mirror. His music still plays, his shoes still sell, his name still trends. But beyond the noise, what remains is his legacy. A legacy built not by perfection, but by persistence, by imagination, by risk. He showed the world how to dream with eyes open and how to bleed in public. He challenged industries, he challenged culture, and most of all, he challenged himself. And in that challenge, he left behind something priceless. Not just albums or designs, but a blueprint for the bold. Lesson 31. Inspiring closing. Speak your genius. Dear learner, wherever you are, however old you are, whatever level of English you're learning, you have a voice. You have a dream. You have genius. Just like Kanye, you might feel unheard right now. You might feel strange, different, emotional, or misunderstood. But that is not a weakness. That is your power. Speak it. Sing it. Build it. Express it. Even if people laugh, even if you fail. Keep going. Because the world doesn't need perfect people. It needs real ones. And yeah, flawed, brilliant, chaotic, bold, was never afraid to be real. Let his story be your fire. Let his fight be your lesson. Don't just learn English. Learn courage. Learn expressions. And most importantly, learn to believe in yourself.